Okay, so this is the video that I told you at the beginning. You might get angry. So this is part 2, actually. So if you missed part 1, there's a link below, a link right now, link at the end of this. You could watch this video independently, but if you'd like to watch part 1, you know where to go. All right, let's get this underway. So I'm going to be going to India, Mumbai and Ahmedabad in 2025. I'm going with my good friend Anshul with June 15 Consulting, worldwide company. They've come up with a real unique solution to this that I'm really a fan of. I'm not partnered with them. I don't get any compensation from that company to talk about them. But I really grew interested in finding out more as my son and I are expanding, and I haven't even thought about doing any kind of global search. We haven't even looked at hiring new people. We're not even there yet. But being interested in this, I got interested in his company and talking with him, his company. And the solution they've come up with is unique. They will help a CPA firm, I'm really simplifying this, expand into India, as I understand it. And I know there's more to it, but basically it's not to expand into India so that they're now doing business in India to do taxes in India, but it's expanding that CPA firm into India so that that CPA is working directly for the CPA firm and within their network, within the technology, just more cohesively, security, et cetera, et cetera. And there's a lot of groups that are going through a third party. I have no opinion on that other than just to say that's the other solution that's most predominant now, where you're hiring a company that then hires a CPA. And so for CPAs, going through a third party to then work with somebody, it's like, well, now it's a third party and all that kind of stuff. So anyways, a great solution. And the reason I think Anshul was genius in coming up with this solution is that when he's talking to CPA firms and he says, well, tell me why you're not using, that's actually one of the first things that comes up, not these other issues that we've been talking about. But I got to know him and ended up being on his podcast. I'll give you a link to it below. Really enjoyed it. And I said, I got a great idea. Let's go to India. Will you take me? He's from India and resides over here in North America. And he said, absolutely, right off the bat. So Amanda and I are going with him. And he's basically hosting us. We're going to be, I believe, might be still working on some of these things, but like the society there, CPAs, and maybe some companies that work with CPAs, also CPA firms there that are part of June 15 Consulting, network, so to speak. And talking with aspiring CPAs and accounting students. We're going to be going to some colleges. So we're still putting a number of things into works. Really excited about that. We're going to go there and spend 5 days, boots on the ground. And I'm just going there with a message of thanks and encouragement. And hey, I'm a CPA from United States of America. Here's a great word. You guys are doing great. Appreciate you. This message that I'm bringing you here. And basically also kind of sharing with them because the CPA is new in India, 1/1/21 is when it became effective. So, it's not that they don't understand the tradition and the rules and all that, but just the mindset, right? I have a history being in this for so long. So just sharing with them, how does a CPA really approach and think, and how do we work with an American business and things like that. So I think there'll be some value for those that are going to be tuning in and attending. So super, super excited. But I also am going over there kind of as a fact find, right? To see if, what's it like over there? But I'm sure it's just like any travel channel. You watch and they go to another country and you're like, oh, that's just like where we are. And, obviously I'm having a little fun with you, but point is, come back, visit with you about it, hopefully build some relationships over there just for fun. I don't have any financial gain out of any of this. But let's get back, though, to the real issue, though, that I think, because we talked about the credentials, we talked about the pay, we talked about are there jobs being offshored, what's the role of those that are involved with this outside of the USA, AICPA. It's the workload. So I really want you to hear me. So I'm going to actually talk in a way that I had to talk to myself. So what I'm getting ready to just share, I'm actually not going to look at the camera so you don't mistake me saying this to you. Okay? But I want you to hear the conversation I had to have with myself. Now, I had it for many months. And the reason I had to have this conversation is that I had a stroke. I weighed 272 pounds. I had a resting blood pressure of 180 over 125. And I lost about 6 months of memory. Forgot that I was planning on getting engaged. Just so many things. Happened on October 13th. Luckily, we had everybody done basically for the deadline. So not good for a CPA. But this is basically, in a nutshell, the conversation I had to have with myself. And maybe it might be helpful for you to hear it. This conversation I had to have with myself. And I had friends that were helping me come up with this. So, listen. I might use some voices, and that's just me. So if you don't know who I am, I'm not a kook. But I had to get like a different mindset. So you're just going to hear me talking to myself. But here's the deal. You ready? And I get this is weird. I'm going to look this way, but it's because I don't want you to think I'm saying this to you. I just want you to hear what I said, and maybe you gain something from it. So, JJ, you got to downsize. So what are you going to do? Are you going to let go of clients? Are you going to let go of services? What you need to focus in on first is if you have too much work, what is actually in that workload? Deadline work. So I went down to working with clients that just had one deadline. So if you're working with clients that have sales tax, how many due dates are there? Probably 12. We have some clients, if we were doing sales tax, they'd have 12, but then there's a mid-month and you had to pay and all this stuff. So you may have 12, 24 deadlines, okay? What's that? Stress, workload, time, no vacation. Are you making any money off of it? No. Now, we weren't doing sales tax, but I used to a long time ago. But what about payroll? How many deadlines do you have with payroll? Why are you involved with payroll? Why? Okay, let's think about this. Let's just say you have an average client. They have 26 payrolls in a year. Boom, 26 deadlines. Got to run payroll, right? What's that entail? Phone call, follow up, this, that, change this, right? Now you got to have Susie or Tim helping you, right? And I'll tell you what we're going to do with Susie and Tim. But right there, you got 26 deadlines. Then you got quarterly 941s. Well, there's 4. Now we got 30 deadlines. Then we have quarterly unemployment forms. Well, there's 4 of them. Now we have 34 deadlines. Well, we got to file something with the state every month. 34 plus 12. Now we're at 46? Okay. Then we have an annual W-2, W-3. We have 47. Oh, we have an annual 940. Oh, we're at 48. Oh, we have to pay quarterly 940. Well, now we're at 52 deadlines. And then how many other things go along with that, depending on what state you're in? What about a work comp audit? There are experts out there that do this way better than we do as CPAs. Hang on. I know. Hang on. You need to stop doing stuff that is not required by the CPA. Okay? Get it through your head. You're not the only one that can do this stuff. First of all, you had a stroke. You're going to die. Your neurologist said to you, when you're in the stroke unit, how long do you want to live, son? Because if you don't cut your workload, you will be dead by April 15th. And I'm not being dramatic. So pick it. Are you telling me you're the only one that can do payroll? Now, I get it. Payroll is very important. You have to have an expert. It is tedious. It's to the penny. It is difficult. It is hard. You got Secure Act 2.0, 401k, Section 125 plan, blah. Are you kidding me? Like, that's not required of you. Why do your clients hire you? Why? to save them taxes. There is not one client that's ever said to you, you need to hire my CPA because he really fills out a mean 941. No one hires you for payroll. They want it because it's convenient. And what do? It's not a value. You make no money off of it probably. And when's the last time you went on a vacation and you didn't get a payroll phone call? I mean, it's not worth it. How many deadlines? Over 50 deadlines, okay? We just took away 50 deadlines. Now, hang on, I got a perfect idea for you that I did. It was genius. I hate to say it. My clients knew it. I made a lot of money from it. Hang on. Did away with that. How many deadlines do we say with sales tax? 24? What did we get, like 75 deadlines? What about bookkeeping? What? You're not going to do bookkeeping? What do you mean? A CPA is not required to do bookkeeping. Okay? We think we're required, but we're not. What are we required to do, JJ? Look over the GL. But we're not required. We don't have to do all the entry. And we know there's AI and there's QBI and QBO and blah, 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 blah. But your clients can either find an option, there are other options, there's AI, whatever. But you doing bookkeeping, how many deadlines is that if you're doing monthly work? 12? I mean, what are we at here? Like almost 90 deadlines? For how much money? Now I get it right now. Everyone's like, well, what are you going to do with Tim and Susie and how are we going to make money? Because I thought that. Okay, listen. What have we been talking about, by the way? You are in demand, not because I'm JJ the CPA. You're in demand because people are retiring older than you. It's falling out of the skies. It's coming in the door. You don't even have the ability to hire people. Get rid of, 90 deadlines? And you have a client now that has one deadline. What do you mean? Well, if you have an S Corp and that's all you're filing, and you're looking over books, and you're doing the tax return, that S Corp has one deadline. Now the owner obviously has an individual, but that's a separate client, separate service, separate engagement with one deadline. Now they may have to be quarterly estimates. Yeah, you got 4 more deadlines. But we just went from, what would that be with somebody who has an S Corp and individual and pays quarterly? Like 100 deadlines. I mean, rough. And we're going to go down to 2, maybe 6. I get it, but what am I going to do? Like the revenue. I get it. I know you're worried about the revenue. I hope you're having fun with me. But this is what I was doing with myself. Well, you're going to die. So, I mean, how much revenue do you need to bring in if you're dead? Because I had 2 clients tell me that. Do you want to fire clients? Well, no. Do you want to die? Well, no. Well, you got to do something, right? And you got business falling out of the sky. So that's what you can do with Tim and Susie. Well, wait a minute. Tim and Susie, they can't do tax returns. They've been doing payroll. Listen, if Tim and Susie are doing payroll, I mean, that's to the penny. And they dealt with how many deadlines? Like over 50 deadlines? They can do tax returns, right? Tax returns are to the penny. Tax returns are rounded. Tim and Susie, what genius. What? They can do tax returns. I can't hire anybody. Oh, I can now use Tim and Susie. What? This is conversations I'm having with myself. I was 272 pounds. I had a stroke. I'm in the hospital. I lost memory. What else did I need to be told? I was still trying to convince myself, just like you. So, what's it going to be, son? So it came down to this. You need to stop doing stuff that doesn't require the CPA. Now, technically, you don't have to be a CPA to sign a tax return. But our clients hire us to save them taxes. No one's ever looked at a profit and loss or a balance sheet and said, you got to hire my CPA. They put together the meanest, baddest, best looking, organized, it's an alphabetical order, P&L. Never. What's a GL? So, what's the value in your involvement with bookkeeping? To make sure it's right. So make sure it's right. You can do that. And how much are you going to have to reduce your fee? Not much, because you weren't charging much. But what my client going to think? Your client's going to say, I want you to live. And maybe you don't have those circumstances, thank goodness. But you, sir, come on, how big an ego do you need to have? And one of my friends said to me, with all due respect, not everybody needs JJ the CPA, right? So what clients could actually be served by somebody else? They don't have to be served by you. There's nothing really actually special about me other than my relationships with my clients. Nobody's the best CPA. So what clients don't require you? I get it. No, I got to take care of them. Okay, but you're going to be dead by April 15th, so you're not going to be able to take care of them after April 15th. Wouldn't that client say, you know what, I appreciate all the years you've worked with me. I can't believe you're doing this, JJ. You needed to hire somebody. What about Tim and Susie? Listen, your client that's paying you $175 a year can go to somebody else and be taken just as good a care. Well, but you got to start picking here. You got to start picking. You got to start picking. You got to start picking. So what do you teach a seminar on? Practice management. What are the things that you talk about? We got to put ourselves first. It's okay to put ourselves first. It's okay to put yourself first. Are you kidding me? Stop doing stuff that actually your client didn't hire you to do. Well, wait a minute. They hired me to do bookkeeping. They hired me to do payroll. But they don't need you to do it. But what are they going to say? They will trust you when you say, you need to go to a heart surgeon. I'm a brain surgeon, and I got too many brain surgeries. I can't do heart surgery anymore. Well, I'm just going to have to go somewhere else. No one says that. Well, what if they do? Business is falling out of the sky. Business is falling out of the sky. Like, what are you worried about here? Lose your ego, JJ, and it's not me that just has an ego, okay? Every CPA, it's not even ego. It's that we care, we love, and we're like, oh, we're going to put our client first. I'm going to die on April 16th and make sure I took care of everybody. Good for you. But what good are you to the clients that need you on April 17th? Stop doing services that are not required. And that's how we save the CPA industry here in America. We're going to need help elsewhere, period. So we got an exiting group, me included. So I got a great idea for you. Why don't you sell your payroll? Why don't you sell your sales tax? I told you I didn't do sales tax, but you can sell that service. Well, what's my client going to say? Listen, tell your client and tell them exactly how much you're going to make, because it's not going to cost them a dime. Well, I just don't know if that's right. Then don't do it and just fire them. Oh, I can't fire them. Well, why don't you hand them over to somebody that's going to take them all at once? I should have been talking to myself. That sounds pretty good. And by the way, you'll still be involved. You're still going to see it. You're just not doing the deadlines. You're still involved. You're not doing the bookkeeping, but you're still involved. All your client wants you is involved. So when I did it, we converted all of our clients in about a week. When I did it, okay, every client was like, okay, no problem. And the price that they were being charged I reduced it down, and it was like $50, $100. Oh my, what am I going to do? I just lost $50, $100. That adds up. Yeah, you bring in like 1 or 2 new clients. You made that up. What's Tim and Susie got to do? Right? Okay. So I'm going to be real honest with you. I re-recorded this section because when I did it the first time, I was saying this all to the camera, and when I re-watched it, I was like, no one's going to listen to this because they're going to think I'm talking to them. But I was really having that conversation with myself, and you just got to overhear it. And I'm trying to make it comical so that you hopefully have still stuck with me and you actually hear this message. So, bottom line is this. Back to India, and then we're wrapping up for real. I didn't mean to lie to you. I kept thinking I would be done. But if you've been watching my channel long, it's almost like a warning sign. But then I'm going to go long. I want you to think of this, though, for those that are upset that the US CPA is now in other countries, that designation. I want you to think of this. Here's the other side of the coin. Well, those countries could have come up with their own designation. And we may own potentially somehow worldwide CPA, but we don't own the letters CPA because it could have stood for a lot of different things, but meant certified public accountant. Could have been credentialed public accountant. I mean, how would we feel then? If we had countries that we felt like, well, they ripped off the US CPA. They're calling themselves CPAs. People are going to think they're a CPA, and they're not a CPA. So I'm sitting here going, we have these people outside of the US that so much respect the US CPA designation and see the value that they will do all the credentialing. Schooling, 2 years, and passing the exam. They'll do all that. I mean, start adding that up. That's like 7 years. I don't know how long you go to medical school, but it's like 7-9 years. What? If you go to law degree, it's 4 years plus 3. It's only, I guess that's 7 years. Anyways, but they respect America. I want you to see it that way. They respect America so much, and they value that designation so much that they're willing to get a designation that's not even in their country. I want you to think of it now on their side of the coin. I'm sure that they're like, well, why would I get a US CPA? Isn't there a India CPA? And maybe there was discussions about it. I don't know why there wouldn't have been. I mean, somebody probably had a discussion. But the AICPA was smart. They're like, we got a shortage coming. We have folks over here that are willing to get this designation. Why don't we ensure they get our designation in the right way under our criteria? So that if they're going to be working with American CPAs, they will be qualified, equal footing. These are just human beings. I mean, just because they're in a different country and different continent, whatever. I get they're not Americans, but we're all human. And I'm not trying to get all kumbaya. I'm just saying, the CPA is a credential, and I'm so proud that this credential has become so valuable that worldwide it is sought after. Worldwide. I'm proud that other countries want to go through the exact same steps, no shortcuts, to get this designation. And why? They're not getting that designation to help the UK or Japan or whatever other countries India would do business with. I don't keep up with that. They're not doing it to do business, but with us. I mean, this is somebody, like, think of a CPA that got this U.S. designation in India that said, hey, there's an opportunity here. There's a shortage in America. I don't think they're over there going, ooh, we're going to take jobs. There's no jobs to take. There's empty jobs. There's want ads not being filled. So somebody went over there and said, hey, listen, it's going to be a long road, okay? You're going to get a degree and another year. And you got to pass the exam and you got to get experience. And it's tough. And it is tough, okay? This isn't easy. This isn't just checking boxes. But at the end of that is a rainbow of this worldwide credential, a recognition by the United States CPA that you are a U.S. CPA, and the pride that they have in that. I want you to think of that. We're not trying to seek somebody else's designation in another country. I mean, not in any widespread manner. We're not trying to become chartered accountants over here like they have in the UK. I don't know how UK would feel about it if we were. But at the end of the day, I see these folks as saying, hey, we're willing to help. And by the way, because of the currency exchange, what we pay for America just has a higher buying power over there. This isn't now paying cheaper labor as in they're making less. We know there's other issues in other countries where, supposedly, people are getting pennies and as children. And this isn't what's going on here. We haven't shut down a factory and sent it over to India. We haven't fired. I don't know what the big firms are doing. I don't pay attention what the big firms are doing in regional firms. I literally don't know what they're doing. But if they're firing people, it's not because they're hiring people in India and going, oh, it's cheaper. But I can tell you this right now, like no one in my position, and it's 87% of CPAs that are what I would call a smaller CPA practice. No one in my position is going, well, I'm going to let go of Susie that's worked with me for 24 years to hire somebody that's going to be, a little less. And honestly, I don't even know what the currency is. I don't know what the exchange is. Maybe I'm totally off my rocker. But I just see people saying that, and they're trying to use it as a way to say somehow now CPA firms here are doing something wrong. But if you're paying something that's like a phenomenal wage over there, then I don't know how we're doing something wrong, okay? And I'm not doing this, okay? But I'm just talking about it. So, why am I passionate about this? I told you I had to re-record this, so I'm going through what I talked. You know why. This has been in my family for 70 years, so it's personal, for starters. My grandfather's legacy, my uncle's legacy, my son's legacy. My son is my legacy, right? Like the CPA doesn't have to be my legacy, but I want the CPA to be relevant for Cooper. But not just for Cooper, I want the legacy of the CPA to be protected. I want the legacy of my son being a CPA to be valued 10 years from now. I mean, we're headed to extinction if we did not expand this designation into these other countries. We would have, at some point, such a diminishing number of CPAs that how would the AICPA be funded? How would the AICPA be able to have any type of influence in the community? How would they be able to continue to govern the way that they govern? Things would become less valued, less known, and then all of a sudden it turns into, why would I get a CPA? No one knows what that is. I don't even know what that is. I've never even met somebody that's a CPA. So this is saving the CPA industry in terms of the designation, the value of it for the future. But in terms of how do we save the CPA industry here, we need both things to happen. Gotta cut our workload. End of story. We just have to. You gotta find a way. First of all, you gotta find a way because there's gonna be a lot of stranded clients starting right now, by next Thursday, by next April, by 2 years from now, that will need somebody to do their taxes. And they'll say, I don't care if you need to do my payroll and my bookkeeping because I don't save any money by you doing bookkeeping or doing my payroll or my sales tax. That's just reporting, as my granddad would say, it's just bean counting. And it's tough and it's hard and it's not profitable. And there's experts out there that will do it cheaper than us with better technology, better security. I mean, they just do. They just do it better than us. It's not because they're better than us. It's because that's all they do. So why not make all we do is taxes and tax planning? Now, I get it. You got 5 years to go. You're like, I don't want to do that. Really, you should consider selling your payroll services and your sales tax because you will get potentially more than the value of your practice. And here's how I know that. I talked with a CPA, little town, after he closed his CPA practice. And he only had about 20 payroll clients. And he probably only had 150 clients. He was old. But he just had to close the doors. And he had nowhere to even send his clients. The guy felt terrible. I don't know his age, but he was older. I mean, like, how many years does he have to keep doing it? Till April 16th when he dies at his desk? Can he not enjoy his life? He just had to close his doors. And I said, not trying to make him feel bad, but I said, well, on those 20 clients, you could have sold that payroll, you could have sold the sales tax, you could have sold the bookkeeping. Your clients would have those. Maybe no one wanted to buy your tax services. But see, here's the thing. There's value in selling it, but there's no value to your client. There's value in those services. They're needed. They got to be right. They're essential. Don't get me wrong. But if you got 5 years to go, 10 years to go, reach out to me. I'll tell you what I did and how I did it. Because I'm telling you, if my son hadn't joined my practice, I would be doing what that gentleman did. I would just have to probably close the doors at some point at 15, 20 years down the road. And there may not be anybody to take it. Or if they did, it would be just as a favor. But by me actually selling my payroll, if you will, I literally got more than what I could have sold my practice for just because I have a small practice. So I don't want your mind to go blown, but I'm telling you, it was way more than what I thought. It was based on the gross, not based on the net. It's like, what? Anyways. So we don't want to go extinct. We don't want to get extinct. EAs, good job. Get more of them. You're on your way. We are global. We just need to accept it. But the reason we need to accept it is that it's the answer. It's not our source of why we have a crisis in the CPA industry. It's just a fact. We have retired folks. It's a fact we don't have as many people becoming CPAs. That's the crisis. There's no why to retiring. It just is. The why on, well, how come people aren't becoming a CPA? You know as well as I do, someone could pay you as much money in the world, but if you had to do something 24/7 or 12 hours a week and you had to miss your baseball games for your kids and put your life at risk and you're not happy and you're just got 100 deadlines a year per client, it doesn't matter how much you're getting paid, right? Now, if you're an owner, you're like, well, I got to do it. Who would want to do that? It's the workload. I'm telling you, it's the workload that will turn that younger generation. And then it's the greatest way to be an entrepreneur, to be a CPA or an EA and open your own tax practice. That's really the answer. We're going to be so far in a crisis that us older people, like, will probably have already gone to shambles. I'm hearing that venture capitalists are looking at starting to buy up these practices, boom, sell them to the big firms. And why? Because these practices are just shutting down. No one's taking care of them. Venture capitalists are probably really doing everybody a favor. But is that really what you would want? As a CPA, as an EA, as an old person like me, that's, whoa. I mean, even if you're just now not convinced of anything I said, would you rather a person here be helped with a CPA here that's using a CPA in India versus VC, which is venture capital, which is also vulture capital? I have respect for it. I've got a good friend that's a venture capitalist. But what are they doing? Rolling up, gobbling, package, sell. Does that mean they're terrible people? No. But are they CPAs? No. So we can just go right there. Forget if they're vulture or not. They ain't CPAs. Okay? Because I know groups that are doing it, they're not CPAs. Okay? And they're going to be gobbling up CPA firms that are going for pennies or for nothing. And they're probably just going to put out ads, and people are going to flock. They're going to set up, Tax USA LLC or something. I'm telling you right now, if I'm actually thinking of it as a CPA, nothing against other people's business opportunities, but I would rather a CPA continue to take care of that client, and in retirement have a younger CPA take it over, or EA. And if we don't have enough enough workforce here, we have literally other U.S. designated CPAs here to help. To me, we are moving in the right direction. For me, I don't see the AICPA as any kind of problem. I get it. It's a rub on the 150 hours. I mean, it's an obvious. It is what it is at this point because they've confirmed it. You might as well just yell at the wind for blowing. It is what it is. So why continue to blame it? It is what it is. What's the next thing though? Oh, it's the pay. You can't pay somebody enough to do the workload that's required. So what's the real underlying issue? Workload. Reduce the workload. We don't have the workforce. We got people over here. So with that being said, this ended up being a part 2, so I appreciate you listening. Appreciate you tuning in if you made it all the way to here. I respect any opinion you have. But with that being said, I appreciate you and for listening. And people got different views, and it's okay. And I'm not I'm just saying, maybe it is time to get a little kumbaya, because when your ship's going down, is that the time to be angry that someone's trying to help you? Your ship is sinking, and we say, well, not if you're an American. If you're not American, don't you dare come and help me with my ship. What are we doing here? All right, hey, thanks for tuning in. I'd love it if you'd subscribe. And then don't you ever forget, you've never met a CPA quite like you. You've never met an EA quite like you. You've never met a tax professional quite like you. You've never met a business owner quite like you. You've never met anybody quite like you. And you've never met a CPA quite like me. Appreciate you. Have a great one.